Okie dokie. So, thank you, officer. You don't get to say that very often. So Dixie didn't want me to tell the triple fisting story because she thought it would scare you away. So instead, I'm going to tell this story that you may have heard of, but I'm going to try to use some big words and salient details to make it more interesting. So this one time I was at a dungeon, and there was a sex party going on, and my friends had invited me to come and decorate the dungeon because I have some mad skills when it comes to like making a dungeon kind of sexy, like building like giant, altars with dildos and giant vulvas and gaping, jerky, oozy openings and things. So, so I'm at this party and I built this altar, and so it's a really hot party. It's really fun, and I fucked my tranny friend, and she was like, yeah, fuck my pussy. Okay, cool. But of course, it's like her ass, and I strap on. And you have great imagination, right? So at the end of this party, I'm one of the last people there because I got to take down my giant, wedding cake dildo altar thing, and my friend is hanging out with me. I was like, maybe we should do like a ritual, like a masturbation ritual or something in front of the altar before we take it down. Because, sometimes you're at a sex party, you just have to like take care of business at the end of things, get yourself off. So we're lying in front of the altar, and we're like, doing that. So, not that you need a lesson, but here's what I like to do is like, you don't go right on the clitoris first. You just kind of like get up there and then you kind of work around it a little bit, and then you're like working the valleys in between your folds, and you kind of like teasing around until it starts to get a little bit perky, and then okay, and then you maybe want to put one little hand inside, and you find you're just like, okay, I want the clitoris a little bit more, and then we're like, hey, this is pretty hot, and she's like passing me the lube, and I'm passing her the lube, and then eventually you get your whole hand up inside, and you're really lucky, and you like your clitoris, and you're like, and then all of a sudden I look over and my friend Kim's like, watch this, and she takes her hands away and she's like, she's like squirting and jizzing and like orgasming, and like, no hands. I'm like, wow, cool, I can do that too, check it out. We're coming over and over again. And then finally okay, now I can talk again. How did you learn to do that? And I'm like, well, I taught myself how to like get off in a lot of different ways. During that time of experimentation when you're not touching and playing with other people, you're like, can I come from playing with my ass? Can I come from see how many times I can come? Oh, I just bought a vibrator. Can I come like 100 times? And I finally was like, can I come without touching? Figure it out. Yes, I can. Hey, I can come on the bus. This is really fun. It makes public transportation like wicked. So she's like, yeah, I just taught myself. I'm like, cool. And she's like, if you can really do that, then you should call this guy down at Rutgers University. He's doing this experiment where he's taking women who can come without touching themselves, and they put them in MRI machines, like functional MRI machines, and they take pictures of their brains so they can figure out like how orgasms work. And I'm like, sweet, I'd totally love to do that. Field research, I love it. So I flown down to New York City, and I'm like, cool, I get to go to the MRI machine, and I meet this researcher guy. His name is like Barry Komisarek. Look it up. He's great. He's quite crazy. He looks like Einstein. His hair's all wizened and wacky. And normally it's weird when you have like old men, like, and your head is strapped to a board in an MRI machine, and they're like, okay, now try to get an orgasm now. That would be crazy. But with him, it was totally cool. So. The best thing about this research thing was that this project was totally funded by Christopher Reeve Society. He wanted to figure out how to help women who had spinal cord injuries, how to have orgasms. I'm like, dude, you rock. So I get down there and get to the machine, and like the lab assistant is like this hot chick in a lab coat and with a clipboard. And like, and just so you know, when you're in an MRI machine, you really, you gotta take out all your piercings. And, because you don't want your labia to just be, so she, goes through and take out piercings, sign liability form, blah, 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 strap your head to a board, go into the machine. It's kind of small and claustrophobic, but it helps if you have a medical fetish. So, is like, so let's work on some hand signals so we can do a test run. So we work on some hand signals. We do a baseline where I like jack off with my hands, and that's fun. And then we do some hand signals to like let her know like whether I'm coming or not. So what do you think this means? Oh, what about this? Yeah, so we work out the hand signals. They take pictures of my brain doing that, so they know what that looks like in my brain, right? So then we do the coming thing, so, you know, eventually, and I was ovulating, so I was wicked horny, so it was great. So I was like, coming over and over again. They're like, cool, can we take another picture? I'm like, yeah, just tell me when. So we do that, and it's good. And then I fly back to, you know, school where I'm going to seminary and studying theology and stuff. And so then at some point I'm like, great, you know, I just sort of forget about it. And they call me back, and they're like, hey, your brain is really neat. We would like to study it some more, and HBO wants to do a real sex thing on you and stuff. Okay, so fly back over to New York. Sweet, second time in the MRI machine. Now, it's harder to do all that with like lights and cameras and like weird British HBO people being like, so it's going to take all day, or we want to just be able to whip it off right away, you know? So they're like, so they strap me to the board and they do the shoots again. And I wasn't ovulating, so it was a little more challenging, but I managed to, you know, rub a couple out. And metaphorically, I didn't actually touch myself. And so, you know, because it was on television, they said they wouldn't show my face because, you know, I have, you know, a public and professional persona that I do maintain. So they were like, well, we'll just, you know, we'll change your voice up and we won't use your name and we won't show your face. Great. Which is kind of what they did. But when every once in a while, like you know, some random friend from far afield calls me and goes, hey, were those your feet sticking out of that MRI machine? Because I could have sworn I heard somebody say, good times, good times. It's just so like, you know, JDelicious to say something like that. So, you know, so basically, you know, I'm a big fan of sex ed and research, and that's the kind of research study I can really get behind, you know? So that's my story.